Sometimes a thought refuses to leave my mind, and I struggle to get it out. Since I started making these lore videos, this process is usually a positive one. It's agonizing, but positive nonetheless, which I think is the way it's intended to be. The inverse, though, intrusions you can't think away, or pray against, or push out, to eschew my separation between a personal life and these videos, I'll let you know I am obsessed with the mind, our minds, our thoughts. I think my goal, or some kind of task given to me, is to put forth a realization. Sorts of Sorcery is a cerebral attempt to posture people watching into thinking differently. In the lore of the mortal realm, I asked somewhat of a rhetorical question, which was, do you have 100% control of every thought that enters your mind? Can any one of us answer yes without compromise? No, probably not. The capacity in which we can defend ourselves mentally is directly proportional to the amount of time we spend in control of our thoughts. Negative contemplation, much like fear, is not an innate phenomenon to man. In fact, it's impossible as long as your heart isn't stone. Ask yourself, when have you ever conjured a genuinely bad or evil thought, as in an evil or wicked cogitation, directly from your heart? It's sort of a trick question, because I'm presenting the notion that it must come from outside us. Someone cuts you off in traffic and slams on the brakes in front of you on your way to work. You'd reasonably be aggravated, but hopefully not for more than a second when you realize how silly you look. But that bubbling emotion to be upset didn't originate from within your mind. It came from physical and external outside influence. Somebody cut you off in traffic. Where things get tricky is when bad thoughts seem to be isolated within us. Imposter syndrome, insecurities, general demoralization. We wake up and just one bad thing happens, and the rest of the day is ruined. Maybe it's been an entire week, or months, or years of depression. At my worst times, it was the same song and dance. Feeling low and thinking things would never get better. The clouds chose you to rain on each day, and the air is heavier than it was the last, and you allow yourself to live in hell. Where does the line get drawn for the source of these emotions? I certainly never chose those things, but I did. One of the greatest pieces of wisdom I have ever heard is your thoughts dictate your emotions. It is not the opposite. A curriculum is being beaten into each and every one of us, in which we become increasingly susceptible to self-sabotage or accepting, initiating, and facilitating mutilation of our spirits. I refuse. You are not your brain, or even the summation of your thoughts and feelings. The reason why is because they can be co-opted without your awareness or approval. Nothing can be you if you're not in control of it. No one would ever accept that kind of representation for themselves, and if they did and or do, they're lying or dead. This is an obsidian mirror. This thing freaks me out, and after I'm done talking about it, it's getting tossed in the trash. Just kidding. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to return it and get my money back. I just needed the visual aid. The mythology for this little mirror goes way back to the Aztecs. A deity by the name of Tezcatlipoca is symbolically tied to this apparatus, as his name means smoking mirror, and his powers relate to premonition and revelation. Another epithet that he's received is the harbinger of discord. A lot of powerful people through history have likely used devices like this, as their purpose is for divination, scrying, and communing with angels and demons. One such individual that stands out is Jonathan D., Chief Scientific and Astrological Advisor to Queen Elizabeth I. Why would a queen of a monarchy need services such as this? I'd like to talk about an idea that I have seen more than once, and each time I do, the proverbial watermark for lucidity of the idea rises. You might be in tune with it, or were exposed to the intangible stitions from my last video relating to the discussion around mirrors. Mirrors are a two-dimensional flat surface. They reflect the three-dimensional world around us in the form of a flat image. That three-dimensional world is where we're standing. It's our tangible and physical permanence. In other words, our reality. You look back at the mirror, and it's just a piece of glass. You move in the world. The mirror reflects your movement. Now let's take this two-dimensional, flat, reflective surface and imagine that it is a threshold separating two different worlds existing in the third dimension. It's strange to think of a world existing beyond that plane, I'm sure, but it would look something like this. Ask yourself, which side of the mirror are you on? If the mirror is the fulcrum that reflects what's happening in your real physical world, then which you is in control of you inside the mirror? What if you're not in control of the man in the mirror at all, and it's the person on the other side? No one would accept that kind of representation for themselves. What about this obsidian mirror? Surely that which is reflected back is a representation of the world around me, right? Or is there an entirely different world on the other side that I am not in control of? No one should accept that kind of representation for themselves. Time and time again, across the gamut of social media channels, something happens. A tertiary party reads about it. Then that third party says, I heard about this thing happening. Their retelling of the story or events is hardly ever the whole truth. Even the source for the information isn't providing enough clarity. But it's too late. The propagation and proliferation is already well on its way. You cannot allow yourself to beget the creation of mountains out of molehills. I think we need them compacted back down to the earth when they decide to pop up. One of the biggest criticisms I've heard lately is we can't find Gothic anywhere in stores. Whose perspective are we hearing this from? Behind the curtain, this is certainly a layered issue, but I see different complaints being conflated regarding availability. Is it a player saying this? If so, Team Covenant has boxes for MSRP, and they ship international. I'm not paying $166 plus tax and shipping for a single box. It's too much. Oh, okay. So you have a price issue, and that's totally fair. But you're not going to find boxes of Gothic below MSRP for a very long time, if at all, ever again. I don't want to support Team Covenant. I want to buy from my local store. Well, distribution seems to be out of Gothic, and there's only guesses as to when they'll get more. In the meantime, Team Covenant has boxes you can get for your playgroup if you're in desperate need for something like prize support, and it's not ideal by any stretch, and I won't even try to make an argument against it. The truth is that distro doesn't have any, and no one knows when they will again. You can have your store sign up for the Team Covenant Fulfilled program. Team Covenant Fulfilled program sucks because reasons XYZ. Guys, come on. I cannot be the only person who sees division here. They're aiming to stop all major distribution and work only with Team Covenant. No, they're not. New stores are out of luck because they can't run events. So they can't be accepted into Fulfilled to get product and prize support to run events. Therefore, they can't run any events because they can't get product, and the only way to get product is to be accepted into Fulfilled program. So stop. Let's step back and recalibrate. I get the frustrations, truly. I had all these hyperboles and examples or anecdotes, and I ended up cutting them all and figured, let's just go to the meat. If you want to be accepted into Team Covenant's Fulfilled, you or your event organizer have to start putting events on the Play Network. Charlie, you fool, we can't host events because we don't have that. Your event organizer has to start putting events on the Play Network for your store. But we have no prize support and we can't get product Start having your event organizer put events on the Play Network for your local game store. An amount of time after I started playing Sorcery in May of last year, I was buying boxes of Arthurian Legends for $70. In fact, when Gothic was up for pre-order from places, there was an online retailer doing a bundle deal of buy a box of Gothic and get an Arthurian Legends box with it for a total of $200. Most online retailers were selling Gothic for $140 during that pre-order period, which would make that Arthurian Legends box in that bundle $60. Other online retailers were dumping their pallet of Gothic at $119 per box. There was little trust in the product. Look, we know the woes of Arthurian Legends. It's a smaller set, uniques printed at a technically elite rarity, only one set a year. All I kept hearing, and there is a truth to this, is how difficult it is for a store to market or sell Sorcery comparatively to other TCGs because it's only one set a year. The hype cycle is not the same, and it's because it's only one set a year. I'd like to couple that with a potentially scalding opinion, but I think stores got too accustomed to Magic and other games printing free money for them, and they became lazy. Collector boosters were selling themselves, and the usurping of the main format being played by Commander was a slam dunk for revenue. To me, it seems like stores that were the most egregious examples doing this have become product flippers instead of being a local game store. So when just one bad set or one ill-received product hits the shelves, all that heat is gone. On top of that, stores are being allocated so aggressively. My local game store, for example, can run drafts for basically only 2 weeks at most following the launch of a new Magic set. They get plenty of pre-release kits, but after that, attendance on Friday nights has been stark. So now you've got a maxed out pressure gauge and bills to pay. So you try to fire sell whatever you can. An extremely small quantity of stores get their free and complimentary welcome kits for Sorcery and then list them on eBay because I gotta keep the lights on. Sorcerers, and by extension, store owners, please stop thinking relative to right here. Regular distribution is not going away. Eric's Curiosa still needs them to reach certain demographics, and to move a lot to certain retailers when new sets come out. Team Covenant is not a replacement for that part of the process. Here's how I see it. A lot of stores have shown they either can't be trusted because they just dump the product and hurt the image of the game, or they have proven they care very little, if at all, about Sorcery. Going even further, they aren't putting in the work to create a long-term returning player base at their store for the game. You want to know why your local store probably wasn't accepted into the Fulfilled program yet? It's because your event organizer isn't putting events on the Play Network for your store. There is a hard reset happening between Eric's Curiosa, Team Covenant, and local stores in relation to trust. In the past week, whenever I see the topic of Fulfilled pop up in Discord, I have probably asked on 4 or 5 separate occasions the same question. Is your store putting events on the Play Network? Just curious. One person said no. The other 3, I received no response. This is what I mean when I refer to the obsidian mirror. You cannot trust what is reflected back at you. These people aren't necessarily lying, but you're not getting the truth. Now I'm starting to see instances of people saying, I heard distribution's going away, and everything is going to go through Team Covenant now. Or I heard that players can't find boxes of Gothic anywhere. Or I heard stores can't get product. I heard. Well, I've been pushing the game nonstop. I bring my own stuff. We had 8 people every couple of weeks to play. So, what, are we just screwed because we weren't accepted into Fulfilled? No. There is a new baseline to establish trust. And a prerequisite for that is showing you have players in seats at your store via putting events on the Play Network. I'd wager all the stores that have been accepted so far, and the ones that were basically immediately accepted, they've been doing that for months, if not years, to Fulfilled even being established. That does not mean the work you've done to establish a player base and all the work you've done in the past is for nothing. You've done the hard part. You have players at your store playing Sorcery. And now you just need to put those events you run on the Play Network. New stores are totally screwed then, I guess, because they can't get approved, so they can't fire events in order to establish trust. Wrong. The Play Network has options for Learn to Play and casual meetup events. You can create those events right now, and interested players you currently have, get them to register for it. You don't need prize support for those kinds of things. Do that consistently, and I would put money on it, you get approved for Fulfilled within like a month or 2. Well, we can only get 1 case per set a month, and the margins are useless. We can barely make any money. Well, that allotment has already gone up, which is good. I'm sure we'll continue to see the amount of product stores can get per month go up over time as, they smooth out the edges of the program. The margins, I'd wager, will also increase in favor of the stores as time goes on. And that's just a hunch. I don't have any data or insight to back that up. Well, it's still not enough. We have to limit how much people can buy off the shelves in order to retain enough product to run events and have prize support. That sounds like a good problem. If you're telling the whole truth, and if you're running through 2 cases of product a month for each set, then it sounds to me like you have a very healthy playgroup of people who love to consistently come back to your store to play Sorcery. When did things change to where that isn't the goal? In today's ecosystem for TCGs, it seems like you get to pick and choose what you want if your resources for your store are limited. It would be ideal if stores could have a plentiful amount of product to run events and enough also on the shelves for people to just come in and buy without one hampering the other. But that's just not how it is, at least not right now. With a burgeoning game that is clearly still growing, I would rather my store, personally, focus on long-term growth of a consistent player base. Almost anyone can grab a box off of TCG Player or Team Covenant or some other online retailer, whether you're in the United States or online. Very few of us have a store we can go play at, and even more so on a consistent basis. So when I see a comment on every Sorcery YouTube video saying stores are starving for product, they can't get it, we can't find boxes anywhere, I'm not jumping in to defend Eric's Curiosa. I'm jumping in to say that you're lying. It's hard to always know the truth. I get it. But it's more important to know what is a lie. I truly understand the frustrations with certain operational decisions with Eric's Curiosa, but we don't know anything. You are jumping to conclusions. At least I'm trying to see the potential good that can come out of this partnership they have. Distribution through the big players is necessary, and that's not going to stop, so please stop. I mean, that kind of distribution comes with so much baggage. Like, if your store truly cares about Sorcery and is operating how a game store should, which in my eyes is a place that is fostering long-term growth and returning customers, then something like Fulfilled as a program existing seems wonderful. You have a direct line to product without needing to buy slow-moving or dead-in-the-water SKUs nobody seems to want. That seems pretty good to me. Look, I'm not here to rile anyone up, but I know Eric's Curiosa and Team Covenant won't say certain things, and I'm not here to put words in their mouths. This is just me. But this obstinance I keep seeing to understanding the reason why Fulfilled exists in the first place, it has to be talked about. Both parties in this partnership have a common goal, and it's going to hit some bumps. There's going to be obstacles to get over, but should a better and more helpful system never be attempted simply because you're annoyed right now? We all need to relax. You can't spend every moment possible thinking in the short term because you're going to be blind to the vision. I'm extremely positive with regard to sorcery, and I'm not going to allow anyone to tell me I'm positive to a fault because I can see the vision. Contrary to how I may have presented myself so far, I'm here to cull that tertiary input. That's the trick. You can't let yourself be the person who got swayed by something you heard from someone else who may not be presenting the whole truth, because then you're the man in the mirror, not the man on either side. You heard, but you don't have access to their heart or the eyes of ethereal fire to see the truth. Don't think you can't be tricked by someone with a flair for the dramatic, because I'd wager some of you haven't flexed your intuition muscle in quite some time. But I also know nothing about any of you, so I know nothing at all except what's in my heart. Near my house, they just planted these really young trees, and they're all kind of scrawny and gaunt right now. They kind of just make the whole neighborhood look a little bit worse, I guess. But I know what they'll grow into, and I look forward to it.